Every time someone questioned your character, you rushed to explain yourself. Every accusation hurled in your direction pulled words from your throat like a confession extracted under torture. You defended, you clarified, you justified your existence to people who had already decided you were guilty. And in that desperate performance, that frantic scrambling to prove your innocence, you handed them exactly what they wanted, your dignity, piece by piece, word by worthless word. You believed defense was strength. You believed explanation was clarity. You believed that if you could just make them understand, they would see the truth and restore what they had taken from you. But nothing was restored, nothing was gained. You stood there, chest heaving, voice raw, having given away every weapon you possessed while they watched with the quiet satisfaction of someone who had already won. This is the wound that never closes. The weak man reacts and regrets. He lies awake replaying his own desperate words, hating the sound of his own voice, drowning in the memory of his emotional collapse. The powerful man offers nothing. He watches accusations fall into the void of his silence like stones dropped into an endless well. No echo returns, no satisfaction is given, and the accuser is left standing alone with their own doubt creeping up their spine. Tonight, you master the untouchable control of never defending your honor. Once you grasp this, no accusation, no confrontation, no carefully constructed attack will ever extract another drop from you. Your honor will become a fortress with no gate to breach, no window to peer through, no weakness to exploit, because honor that requires defense is honor already lost. In the winter of 1476, a Florentine baron named Lorenzo di Castellani faced accusations of treason before the ruling council. His enemies had constructed an elaborate web of false evidence, forged letters, bribed witnesses, a conspiracy designed to destroy him utterly. The court waited for his defense. His allies urged him to speak, to refute, to fight back with words that would expose the lies. Lorenzo said nothing. He stood before his accusers in absolute stillness. When pressed to respond, he offered only this: "I will not wrestle in mud with those who have already soiled themselves." Then silence. Complete. Impenetrable. Maddening. Within 3 days, the accuser's confidence began to crack. Within a week, members of the council questioned why a guilty man would not desperately defend himself. Within a month, the conspiracy collapsed under the weight of its own contradictions, and Lorenzo's silence had accomplished what 1,000 words of defense never could have achieved. Niccolò Machiavelli observed this principle with surgical precision in his study of princes and power. The prince who speaks least rules longest, for every word is a potential weapon handed to his enemies. He watched courts tear themselves apart, while wise rulers offered nothing, defended nothing, explained nothing. The men who survived were not the most eloquent. They were the most silent. Sun Tzu understood this in warfare. Let your plans be dark and impenetrable as night, and when you move, fall like a thunderbolt. But before the thunderbolt comes the darkness, the waiting, the silence that makes enemies doubt their own positions, question their own intelligence, fear what they cannot see or predict. Most men today erupt like fools in conflict. They receive an accusation and immediately begin their performance of innocence. They explain, they justify, they provide evidence, they beg the court of public opinion to see their truth. And in that begging, that desperate performance, they reveal themselves as men who can be manipulated, who can be baited, who can be controlled by anyone willing to throw an accusation in their direction. You will not be that man. Silence is your throne. From this moment forward, You sit upon it without apology, without movement, without a single unnecessary breath leaving your lungs. Observe what unfolds in their mind when you withhold words in the heat of accusation. The human brain is not designed for unanswered attacks. It craves completion. It demands response. When someone accuses you and you offer nothing, their psychological architecture begins to collapse in ways they cannot control and barely understand. First comes the confusion. They expected resistance. They had prepared for your defense, had already formulated their counterarguments, had rehearsed the next phase of their attack. But there is nothing to counter, nothing to attack. You have given them empty air to swing at, and they stumble forward into the void of your non-response like a man throwing a punch at a shadow. Then comes the doubt. In the absence of your reaction, they begin to question themselves. Perhaps they were wrong. Perhaps their accusation was weak. Perhaps you know something they do not. Perhaps you possess some devastating counter-evidence that you are simply choosing not to reveal. The imagination is a torture device more effective than any rack, and your silence has activated theirs fully. Watch them spiral. Watch them replay the confrontation in their minds, searching for the response you never gave. They draft messages to you that they delete. They construct arguments against positions you never took. They lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, haunted by the echo of your silence more than any words you could have offered. Their pulse quickens when they see you. Their stomach tightens. Their eyes search your face for some crack in the armor, some indication that their attack landed, some evidence that you are wounded. But there is nothing there, only stillness, only cold, impenetrable stillness. This is the neurological prison you have constructed for them. Without your reaction, they have no closure. Without your defense, they have no victory to claim. Without your emotional engagement, they are left fighting a war against their own reflection. You have become the silence that echoes in their skull. Inescapable. Tactical breakdown. 7 ways to wield silence as a blade in conflict. 1. Receive the accusation. Like stone receives rain. When the attack comes, do not flinch. Do not inhale sharply. Do not allow your face to betray a single flicker of disturbance. Let the words fall upon you the way rain falls upon ancient stone, acknowledged by contact, but utterly unchanged. The stone does not defend itself against water. It simply endures. And in its endurance, it outlasts centuries of storms. Machiavelli noted that princes who reacted to every criticism found themselves perpetually on the defensive, forever explaining, forever justifying, forever weak. The prince who remained unmoved forced his enemies to doubt their own power. Let them throw their words. Let them exhaust themselves. Your stillness is the only response required. 2. Offer no explanation, where none was deserved. The moment you explain yourself, you have accepted the legitimacy of the accusation. You have agreed that you owe something, that you must account for yourself, that their opinion of you matters enough to require your defense. It does not. You owe nothing to those who have already decided your guilt. Explanation is tribute paid to an unworthy king. Sun Tzu wrote, "Supreme excellence consists of breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting." Your refusal to explain is the refusal to fight on their terms. Let them wonder. Let them assume. Let them construct elaborate theories about your silence. Every theory they create is mental energy devoted to you, and mental energy that weakens their position while costing you nothing. 3. Let them fill the void with their own fear. Silence is not empty. Silence is a canvas upon which others paint their deepest anxieties. When you withhold words, the accuser must imagine what you are thinking. And what they imagine is always worse than anything you could have said. They assume you possess devastating information. They assume you are planning a counterstrike. They assume your silence indicates a power so complete that their attack did not even warrant acknowledgement. Let them fill the void. Let their imagination become your weapon. Like a medieval lord who lets the court argue about his intentions while he watches from shadow, you control the narrative by refusing to participate in it. 4. Never seek closure from those who attacked you. The wounded man chases closure. He needs to resolve the conflict, to reach understanding, to hear acknowledgement that he was wronged. This need is the chain that binds him to his enemy forever. Every attempt at closure is another opportunity for them to wound him again. Sever the chain. Accept that closure is a myth constructed to keep weak men returning to their abusers. The powerful man needs nothing from those who attacked him. He requires no apology. He demands no acknowledgement. He simply withdraws his attention like a king withdrawing his army from unworthy territory. The land is not worth holding. Neither is their opinion. 5. Respond to aggression with devastating calm. If words must be exchanged, if circumstances demand some form of response, let it be brief. Let it be cold. Let it carry no emotional heat whatsoever. A single sentence delivered without inflection, without defensiveness, without any indication that you are affected in the slightest. This devastating calm accomplishes what heated defense never could. It demonstrates that you exist on a level they cannot reach. It shows that their attack was so insignificant it barely registered. Machiavelli observed that men feared what they could not move, could not provoke, could not touch. Be the immovable object. Let your calm be more frightening than any anger. 6. Allow time to punish those who expected your reaction. Silence is not merely a moment. It is a duration. It is days stretching into weeks. It is the slow torture of unreturned messages, unanswered provocations, complete withdrawal of your attention and energy. Time becomes your executioner. With every passing day, their certainty fades. With every hour of your non-response, their power over the narrative weakens. They must eventually accept that you will never give them what they wanted. And that acceptance is a defeat more crushing than any public loss. Like a siege commander who wins not through assault but through patience, you let time starve them of the satisfaction they craved. 7. Transform every attack into evidence of your power. The final blade is the alchemical transformation of accusation into proof of your sovereignty. When you do not defend, observers notice. When you remain unmoved, the court takes note. Your silence speaks louder than any defense ever could, and what it says is this: this man cannot be baited, this man cannot be controlled. This man is so certain of his own worth that he requires no external validation. The attack that was meant to diminish you now elevates you. Your enemies have accidentally advertised your power, and you accomplish this by doing nothing at all. This is how silence carves fear. You now possess 7 blades most men will never sharpen. Wield them coldly. Wield them without mercy. Wield them in utter silence. You no longer react. You no longer explain. You no longer bleed in conflict. Every accusation that once pulled desperate words from your throat will now fall into the void of your non-response. Every attack that once activated your defense mechanisms will now reveal only the stone wall of your stillness. Every enemy who once knew they could provoke you will now face the terrifying reality that you are no longer reachable. This is the moment you cease being the fool who argues and become the shadow that commands. You are now untouchable. You are now silent. You are now sovereign. Honor needs no defense. Let those words burn into your consciousness like a brand that can never be removed. The man who defends his honor has already admitted doubt about its existence. The man who offers nothing, explains nothing, justifies nothing, possesses honor so complete that it requires no external confirmation. You have stepped beyond the reach of accusation. You have transcended the game that kept you bleeding for years. You have become something that cannot be wounded by words because you no longer exist in the arena where words have power. If this cut deep, if you felt the shame of past emotional leaks and the cold power of the transformation offered here, inscribe in the comments, "Honor needs no defense to seal this truth into your flesh." Like, subscribe. Activate notifications. Weak men will argue with the screen and scroll past unchanged. They will return to their patterns of desperate defense, of emotional reaction, of bleeding power into conflicts that should never have touched them. They will continue handing their dignity to anyone willing to make an accusation. Powerful men will act in silence. They will close this video and immediately begin the practice of non-response. They will face the next accusation with stillness instead of words. They will watch their enemies spiral in the void of their silence and understand, for the first time, what true power feels like. Which one are you? The medieval baron understood what most never will, that silence is not absence, but presence of the most terrifying kind. When you withhold your defense, you force the world to question itself. When you offer nothing, you become everything they fear. When you refuse to bleed, you become untouchable. In the cathedral of your silence, accusations echo only once before dying in the darkness you have become.